Hi, this is Maxim Verbist. What we call desire is in reality a long process of evolution from pure instinct to pure creativity. And the suit of wands in the tarot teach us how we progressively get more and more creative in life. Get ready to face fire. To start with the element fire, we will use a small visualization. So please close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Now I invite you to imagine that you have in the hand a magic wand. That magic wand can do whatever you want. So think about what do you want to get in life? What do you want to create? What do you want to change? About yourself, your appearance? About your material conditions? About your friendships, your love life? About your profession? About the world? The world is in your hand. You just need to use the wand to create. The element fire is associated with what we call nowadays a desire. Probably because the fire was one of those key moments that have completely changed mankind. So imagine, all of a sudden, you get access to light during the night, heat during cold moments, the possibility to keep wild animals away, the possibility to cook meals and for social gathering. So it's not very difficult to understand that fire has been associated with joy. But fire, more deeply, is the very power of transformation. Of course, a modern car will burn fuel to get propelled. But what we call metabolism is also a function of fire. Digestion, the same. In any case, that input of energy is always required to get a transformation. That's why fire is the universal agent of transformation. And desire, above all, is a desire to transform the world and to make it ours. The Ace of Wands represents happiness. Happiness is not the most desirable thing we can aspire to. It is the very essence of desire. There is no higher good than happiness. And in the animal kingdom, happiness exists. And it's quite simple. An animal is happy if he just has the possibility to behave as nature has prescribed him to behave. For instance, for the fox, it would be running behind rabbits, stealing chickens, and so on. That's enough for the fox to get happy. But human beings also are part of nature, and we have been given by nature some program that we have to express, which is the basis of our happiness. The only problem is we tend to invent a lot of complicated things to direct our desire towards. And actually, happiness is very simple. It's just living according to our inner nature. But the more we find in the external world those sources of happiness, the more we get disappointed. That's one of the paradoxes. The Two of Wands represents the instinct. For most psychologists, there is very few behavior that are attributed to instinct. But actually, we may consider that anytime we behave in a discontrolled manner, we act upon our instincts. And of course, it is not acceptable in a civilized world to behave so. But every society has created some places, some festivals, some moment of the year where these behaviors are authorized, because without that we just suffocate. The Three of Wands represents fantasy. As our desire takes a cognitive form, we are able to close the eyes and reimagine the world as we want it to be. And that is what we call a fantasy. And fantasy in itself is rewarding, because we just need to use our imagination to create that fantasy. But the problem, obviously, is the more we live in that world of fantasy, and the more the reality gets painful, because a lot of things are just not applicable in this world. The Four of Wands represents conformism. When we live in a society, we listen constantly messages about what is desirable and what is not desirable. And without being aware of it, we integrate a lot of them. And the modern publicity is just an active and conscious use of the power of conformism. It is just there to plant in our mind desire that will drive our behavior towards taking a decision that may arrange the person who have created the publicity. And that is how the world works. But the more we follow those desires by conformism, the more we feel frustrated, because it doesn't really correspond to what we really want. It's just a standard desire. It can never be satisfying. The Five of Wands represents competition. Conformism is too narrow for the desire, and we need to strive to stand out of the crowd. And the competition is just about getting better than others and feeling that we are superior. And every society organizes some form of competition when it is possible, in one way to demonstrate that we are superior, but that we are still part of the society. We are the primus inter pares, which is the first and foremost among the equals. Because when we really want to differentiate, we may get too far from the social norm, and it is scary. The Six of Wands represents identity. It is one of the most difficult tasks of being a teenager. It is to find that fine balance between belonging to a group and finding our own way in existence. And usually it's not achieved before the age of 16 or 18, where we really get our own way of doing, and we do not need to demonstrate we are superior. We are just ourselves. And from that very identity, we will start to develop our capacity to interact in the world as a real person, an individualized person. And obviously, it will take time to consolidate. But sometimes that necessity to find our identity will degenerate into an endless preoccupation on who we are and trying most of all to explain to others who we are. Because when the identity is really stable, we don't need to demonstrate anything to anyone. We just are, and we are happy about it. The Seven of Wands represents ambition. When we arrive in the professional world and when we have that luxury to be able to choose the profession we want, of course there is an important part about the social status and the money we get. But the core motivation in a professional environment It's just that we want to make a difference where we work. And that's the most simple ambition and the main source of a professional joy. But unfortunately, the more we try to make a difference, the more we are at risk to fall into burnout. The Eight of Wands represents the style. The more we get skillful in a professional task or in art or sport, and the more we are able to find our own style into that skills and to get more and more personal. So we stop to copy other, to find our own way to express those skills. And that's what makes the difference between an average performance and an outstanding one, is that unique touch of the style that indicates the greatest skills in any domains. But the style have also its downside when we start to imitate ourselves and we get prisoner to what people expect us to demonstrate. And unfortunately, many artists fall into that trap. The Nine of Wands represent disappointment. No matter how much we desire something, how skillful we are, how lucky we get, whatever is expected in our desire will probably never happen and never be as rewarding as we can imagine. Because the desire is not the happiness, but is an expectation of happiness. And actually, most of the time, we get cheated by our desire. And we get disappointed when we get what we have toiled so much to get. But it doesn't matter, because the desire is there to put us in action. It is usually disappointing, but we will move to the next desire and to strive for it and keep hoping about it. And actually, people who are really realistic about what they could really get into action are called depressed. Because if you stop to believe in your desire, you stop to act, and you stay in your bed, what's the reason to give yourself so much of effort if at the end you get disappointed? The Ten of Wands represents bipolarity. It is a very worrying aspect of the desire, that the more intense the desire is, the more we believe that we will get happy, and we can enter into a state of frenzy and to believe that this time we will get everything we have dreamt, and stay for a while in that state of frenzy. But after a while, even if we got everything we have hoped for, that excitation falls and we fall into the opposite side, which is despair. And bipolarity is just that movement of crazy hope and then falling into despair and hoping again and despairing again, because that is where ultimately every desire leads. And we get trapped into it. And there is a mental health condition which is very serious, and that will require urgent hospitalization and medication when it's happened. But this is essentially an element of human existence. Desire has ups and downs. That's life. The Page of Wands blends fire with the element air. And his job is to communicate something that will inspire the desire. In one way, he's an expert of marketing. He will incite others to act in one direction, but he will not be the person who will achieve the task. He's just the person who is there to inspire. The Knight of Wands is the purest expression of the element fire. He is the desire at its purest level of energy. He's ready to take up any challenges. He has the ambition, he has the strength, he has the skills to get what he wants. And if he have to set fire everywhere to get what he wants, he will do it. The King of Wands represents the leader because he blends the element fire with the stability of the element earth. He holds in hand the staff of commandment, and he has the energy to lead people into a very concrete action. He's a leader. But sometimes also, he can turn into a complete dictator when he uses its power just for the sake of using his power. The Queen of Wands blends the element fire with the emotion of the element water. Her goal is not to express her own desire, but to help people, to coach them, to be able to express their own desire, their own individuality. So she doesn't want to dictate anything. She just wants you to become yourself. She's a coach. With the Suit of Wands, we have discovered the 14 steps to develop the element fire within us. And to get better at it, we can of course rely on the help of a mentor or a coach that will help us to get better at expressing that element in our life. But we can also try to establish a direct connection with the element fire. So you may decide to find a safe place, maybe in nature if it's legal, and to light a fire with a fine type of wood you have carefully chosen, and then enter in contact with that element that have changed so much our human race. And from the moment you can connect to the joy which is within the fire, then you get access to the pure source of happiness that is within your mind. And the Greek goddess Hecate, who get transformed later into the figure of the goddess Hera, represents the deep aspect of the element fire that you can contact through the contact with fire.